Two young couples in the small West Virginian community of Point Pleasant fled the nearby woods in mid-November 1966, claiming to have seen a horrifying creature. The entity appeared human in most aspects, according to their account, they told the sheriff. Well, except for its luminous red eyes and 10-foot wingspan, of course. The tale of the Mothman was published in the local newspaper, and a day or two later, with rifles drawn and prepared to pursue the beast, the entire village gathered at the reported spot. They didn't find it, but they did, however, spark a legend. But how exactly did the Mothman go from a myth from the area to a globally acknowledged figure, akin to Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster? And how has it stayed relevant for all of this time? Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy 2024. Welcome to this week's episode of Horror House, the first episode of the new year. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you. We love you. We hope that you had an amazing end to 2023, and we hope that you kick 2024 right in the booty. Amy, it's been a hot minute. I have missed your face, darling. How are you? How are you?
I'm very well. I'm blushing a little bit now. No one misses my face. Yeah, I'm very good. I'm very excited to be back because obviously I've missed you too. And it's been a couple of weeks since we recorded. So I'm keen to speak about weird stuff again because, you know, when you do that with like your family, they don't really get it. So yeah. It's good to be back amongst the right people. And also Mothman. Mothman is the first episode of 2024. If that's not a good sign of things to come in 2024, then I honestly don't know what is.
Yes, absolutely. We ended 2023 talking about a folklore figure. So I thought, you know what? Why not start 2024 talking about a folklore figure? And who better to start off with than the Mothman? It was very exciting reading up on this, I will admit. We mentioned him, obviously, in our Krampus episode, because Krampus and Mothman are linked, obviously.
Of course. I mean, when you say you had fun researching, how much of that research was spent staring at his ass? Just out of curiosity.
So, Amy, Mothman.
Yeah, cool. Me neither. Dead ass though. It's
dead ass.
Yeah.
Dead ass.
I mean, I've not been able to stop thinking about it. If I'm being honest, it's ruined New Year for me.
I just don't know. Like, what is the booty anatomically accurate? That's what I want to know. Did Mothman genuinely have
butts?
A dump
Surely
truck?
Not.
Probably not, no.
Bats do. Bats have little butt cheeks. And they're adorable.
Oh, do they?
I don't know about moths.
Oh my god, I didn't know this. That's amazing.
Yeah. Go off in your free time and Google bat butt cheeks. They're adorable. But
okay.
I don't think moths do. So he has no right to be that
he
thick.
doesn't. He doesn't.
Absolutely
he doesn't.
No right.
Like,
it was, looking at that statue was the weirdest mixture of jealousy and horny that I think I've ever had. I was so conflicted.
I mean,
I don't know what's going on.
I was jealous. I was like, Mothman, I've got no ass. Could you give, like, you're quadruple cheeked up? Could you give me like
share the love, buddy?
A little bit? I'm not asking for all of you. I'm asking for a little bit of the booty. Come on, help.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know much. I actually genuinely don't know much about Mothman. I know the name, obviously, and I know a little bit of the sort of lore around him, but all I basically know going into this episode is red eyes and, yeah, that peach.
Yeah. Red eyes, junk in the trunk, big old wings.
Really, that's all I need to know, so anything else is a bonus.
Yeah. Exactly. So before we delve into our good friend, the Mothman, we were talking off air, but there is a event towards the end of October in the good old UK, which we may be going to.
Blighty.
Amy, would you like to tease the audience a little bit?
Yes, I would. The event's called For the Love of Horror. There's also For the Love of Fantasy and a few other things that these people do. For horror movie lovers, I would say the world over, but definitely the UK over. If you are in a different country and want to come, it's not closed to you. It's just a bit of a trek.
Absolutely.
But feel free. Loads of horror stars going this year, and honestly, I'm so excited about so many of them. I'm not going to start listing them off because it will take all day and I'll get too excited. But then obviously loads of horror merch and loads of just horror themed stands are going to be there. Unusual Horror are going to be there, which I'm very excited about because we all know how much I love their clothes. And it's just going to be a really, really fun event. So if you are UK based and you love horror, which kind of goes hand in hand with what we do here, and also you just want to come and meet us, then
yeah, absolutely.
Why not grab yourself a ticket and come along? Because we want to meet you too, and not in a weird way, not in a Mothman's arse way, just in a normal way. You know?
Mothman's arse will be the topic of conversation when we do meet you. But yes,
maybe that should be the password. Like people come up and be like, "Sorry, before we speak, what's the password? Mothman's arse. Sweet, yeah, cool. Let's converse."
Should we just if that happens, should we just play dumb and they're like, "So Mothman's arse," and we just stare at them blankly, just like what?
You okay? We've never even covered it.
What's this about Mothman's arse? Have you got a photo? Mothman. What does it look like?
Yeah, we won't do that. We'll accept you into the fold because you are clearly art people. If you're talking about cryptids and arses, then obviously you're where you need to be.
Absolutely. Cool. Are you ready to delve into our good friend, the one, the only Mothman?
We'll check. Or put them on. Which one is it that moths are attracted to? I light a candle.
They're attracted to light, aren't they? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let us know, because we obviously don't know. Cool. So, the creature, affectionately known as the Mothman, has emerged from local appearances to the national scene as a key figure in the last 20 years of the cryptid renaissance. There are myths about cryptids, which obviously are mythical beings like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, whose veracity and legitness, I don't know if that's a word, their existence hasn't been...
Sorry.
Legitness
I'm a child of mine.
Confirmed. But these figures of folklore, I suppose you could say, can be found all throughout the world and obviously in the United States. In addition to bringing intriguing secrets into the lives of outsiders, the cryptid resurgence has given citizens of communities such as Point Pleasant a sense of place. And it was here that on November the 15th, 1966, the Mothman first appeared, according to conflicting theories emerging from either the upper reaches of space or the depths of hell. The second one sounds a little bit cooler, I will say.
Well, no, if anything, it sounds hotter.
It does sound hotter.
Space is notoriously cool.
Do you reckon that's...
Yeah, I think they're very different places.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you reckon that's why he's got red eyes? Because it's just... his eyes are on fire because he's just come up from hell.
Well, I should imagine if you've come from outer space and come through the atmosphere with no sort of goggles or eye protection, then your eyes might be a bit red as well. Or maybe he's just not having a very good day. Maybe he just fancies a little cry. And that's okay too. Maybe.
He's
boys
just...
and Mothmen still.
Mothman is a very misunderstood creature.
Very emotional.
We've
got a really bad habit of doing this, by the way. We did it with Krampus. We were like, no, he's a good guy, free Krampus. And now we're 2 minutes into talking about Mothman, and it's like, no, he's just misunderstood. I think that
just
probably
Windows
says something
good.
about us.
Mothman just needs a hug. Bless him. Just give him a hug.
He's probably like fuzzy, cute like a moth. So just give him a little hug.
Well, the various drawings and such do paint him as a very furry being. So he probably has got a lot of fur on him. So, oh yes. So while traveling together on State Route 62, close to the abandoned National Guard Armory building and power plant, Steve and Mary Millett, along with Roger and Linda Scarberry, would spot a frightening figure that appeared to be 6 or 7 feet tall. The beast featured blazing red eyes, spaced approximately 6 inches apart, a 10-foot wingspan, and an evident desire to elude the car's strong headlights, according to Scarberry and Mallet, who spoke with the Point Pleasant Register, which is the local newspaper. That space between the eyes is very specific, I've just realised.
It's very specific. That's about this big.
It is.
Men, it's quite big.
That, like, if it's like that, that's... Oh, God. He looks a bit
moth,
gormless.
so they're on like the side of his head, right? Wait, is that moth?
I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, moth's eyes are like on
I don't know.
Am I thinking of fish? I don't know. I'm confused. I thought they were on the side.
Fish and Mothman cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how far apart are eyes generally. I'd say they're at least like 2 inches apart, right?
Yeah. I would say that's about accurate. It's like, I mean, if they were 6 inches apart, they would essentially be on the side of his head.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a pretty big difference between 2 and 6 inches. Trust me, I'm aware.
Exactly. And also, who knew that the Mothman's kryptonite was bright car headlights? Just full beam, and then he's off. He's done.
It's not the best one, is it? In terms of like ways to be defeated, just pop on a light isn't exactly the greatest, but yeah, fair enough.
Oh my God, turn your beams down. They're so bright. I can't take it anymore. And he just flies away.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't possibly attack you. You've got an LED torch.
What about your phone flashlight? Can you just use that instead? Be considerate. God.
Yeah. Point it down.
So Scarberry would maintain that the figure couldn't have been just a mere figment of his imagination, because he sounds very well put together. Even being aware of how ridiculous this must have seemed to a local newspaper in a very small Appalachian village in the 1960s. I'm sure that the newspaper people looked at him like he had more than one head when he was like, yeah, this is real. I saw it. I seen it.
Not even sure who I'd tell.
I know.
Like,
I
wouldn't want to take straight to social media with it. Can you imagine? If I just randomly, you just scroll in my stories one day and then I'm like, oh, by the way, I saw this 6-foot moth. Now, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but subscribe. It just wouldn't, I don't even know who you'd go to.
Yeah, I would probably sit on it for a little bit, because I would be like, if I tell people...
Oh, the news.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll sit on the moth, just be like, I can't let you go because they're going to think I'm crazy. Like, I got to bring you in. I'm sorry.
I know all you need is a hug and I can give that to you.
You're going to be in the newspaper. Please stop struggling.
We're going to be besties. Whether you like it or not.
Oh, dear.
This got terrifying really fast.
It did. Poor Mothman. So Scarberry would go on to assure the paper, quote, if I'd seen it while by myself, I wouldn't have said anything, but there were 4 of us who saw it. So it was just a collective figment of all of their imaginations then.
Yeah, but I hope they other 3 piped up as well. Like, can you imagine? You go into the local town, gather a crowd, and he's like, I've seen a 6-foot moth, and his 3 mates are just like, yeah, no, don't know what he's on about. We didn't see anything.
Scarberry starts like talking to the paper. Like all 4 of them are in like the little office, and Scarberry starts talking to the paper, and the 3 of them, as he's going on, they just slowly back out, Just like, sorry, Scarborough,
Yeah.
you're on your own, buddy. Sorry. We got going
This
to the
is how
pub.
this is not
Sorry.
the story we agreed.
Oh, Scarborough, take your
He's been
meds.
sniffing
We've
a lot of
told you.
paint.
The creature's introduction would unsettle the locals, leading to a rather unclear headline in the Point Pleasant Registry the next day. Quote, couples see man-sized bird, creature, something. Good, clear journalism. I like it.
Excellent headline. Definitely not giving me any sort of panic attack.
Yeah, imagine like you're it's the 1960s and you see that headline in the newspaper. You would shit your pants.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Something. The something is very ominous. Well, should I be concerned? I don't know.
So the tendency in small towns to turn into a vengeful mob would quickly become apparent. For a few evenings, townspeople decided that hunting rifles were a better weapon than pitchforks and torches. Fair.
Not wrong.
A hunting rifle would probably do a bit more damage to the Mothman than a torch. Actually, no, he doesn't like bright lights, so maybe a torch. Just a very high beam, powerful torch.
Rifle and
That's
torch.
all you need.
I don't know. I've always kind of fancied, when you see like in films, and the only one that immediately springs to mind is Shrek, but I'm sure it's in lots of other films, where they're like, grab your torch and pitchforks and then they go out hunting for a monster or a beast or whatever. I always think that looks quite nice. Like, it looks quite a fun way to spend an evening.
Good. Fair enough.
Hanging with your mates with your torch and pitchfork, going on a little hunt. It sounds quite nice, doesn't it? But then
it does, to be fair.
Something dies at the end.
Yeah. It's all fun and games until you actually come across what it is you're hunting. And then you're just like, you know what, maybe this might not have been such a good idea.
Until you're covered in Mothman blood and running naked through the village. What? Sorry, this has gone into my fantasy territory. I apologise.
So, following this first encounter, that's better. Mothman would be linked to several odd sightings and incidents in Point Pleasant and the surrounding areas, including chasing cars, prowling outside homes because he's a dirty old fucker, and stealing pets, which is just not cool. Why are you stealing pets, Mothman?
Bro.
What are you doing?
Me and Mothman were getting on, but you can't steal pets.
Maybe Mothman isn't misunderstood.
We have established many times that you don't steal. You don't. That's the line we don't cross here. So come on, get your act together.
Right.
Just
no need, Mothman. No need.
They can't even turn on lights.
If you want to creepily prowl outside someone's house, fair enough, but don't steal their dog.
Yeah, go for it. You want to climb a tree and, be a peeping Tom, that's absolutely fine. I'll put on a show for you, but leave my dog alone.
Neil Partridge, who was a resident of Salem, West Virginia, claimed that he saw strange patterns appearing on his television screen one evening, followed by a mysterious sound just outside of his home. Partridge would allege to see two bright red eyes, he said, like bicycle reflectors, staring back at him as he directed a torch towards the source of the sounds. This account, chronicled in John Keel's book The Mothman Prophecies, which was published in 1975, tells of a German shepherd named Bandit who bolted into the woods after two glowing red circles. Partridge says that he looked for Bandit but found nothing but paw prints going in circles and then mysteriously vanishing. Ooh. Poor Bandit.
Bandit. I'm not happy about it. I was just getting bored with Mothman.
Oh, Mothman. You were so promising. And then you had to go and
Mothman.
steal a dog.
You are not in Krampus territory. How dare you? He just takes kids.
Exactly. And at least Krampus only takes naughty kids. Like, you can kind of
Yeah,
get
the
on
ones that
board with that.
deserve it.
You're just
Exactly.
taking innocent dogs.
So mean. It's just not.
Unbelievable.
It's not on. All right, it's not on.
Not on.
And you do it by
Not
flashing him
not.
your naughty eyes. You know, giving him the old "come on, chase me," and then you just whisk him off to hell. That's just mean. Not fair. No. Although if it was a cat, I wonder if he does it with cats, because cats like moths, don't they? They do the whole, this shit.
Yeah.
Them. So I wonder if he still takes
Yeah.
cats, or if that's like another no-go, like bright light.
Maybe. His very specific rules are cats are off, out of bounds, don't like bright lights.
Yeah, no lights, no cat.
Dogs and people are fair game.
Dogs and darkness. This is what we like.
So covering these bizarre sightings and encounters was Mary Heyer, a writer for the Athens, Ohio Messenger, the local news source for Point Pleasant's northern neighbours. On November 16th, 1966, her debut piece, titled Winged Red-Eyed Thing Chases Point Pleasant Couples Across Countryside, was published without any delay. And for the aforementioned book, The Mothman Prophecies, she would collaborate with renowned New York paranormal journalist, as stated earlier, John Keel. However, it wouldn't be long until Mothman was no longer visible in Point Pleasant. The creature had laid low since the deadly collapse of the Silver Bridge in December 1967. A sighting that was reported just before the collapse was dismissed by many as unrelated, while others interpreted Mothman as a menacing portent of impending disaster. Mothman appears to have stayed to himself in the years since. Well, until recently. In 2019, accounts of a flying moth creature in Chicago would once again fuel the desire for paranormal creatures. However, though he made national news once again, an NPR inquiry was entitled, quote, The Case of the Chicago Mothman. Lovers of the wild and the unverified should remember exactly where Mothman's roots lie, and where a 12-foot tall statue of his likeness, with one juicy peach, may I add, by Rob Roach stands, and that is in Point Pleasant. Goddamn indeed. But what is the Mothman?
But
really? What is the Mothman? Could it be possible that he is genuinely a humanoid creature with glowing red eyes and enormous wingspan who rises from the depths of the underworld? Or a far less interesting and far more normal bird, shall we say? Well, we shall get into all the theories and why the legend of the Mothman has persisted for so very, very long after the break. What do you think, Amy?
Yes, I need a little bit longer to ponder those options. I also need a bit longer to think about his butt. Didn't specify whose. Not objectifying anyone. Just his butt.
Don't objectify Mothman. He is more than just a juicy bum.
He's very against that. He does not like lights, he does not like cats, and he does not like to be objectified. So we need to be careful.
Cool. So we shall see you very, very soon after these messages. Welcome back to this week's episode of Horror House, where we talk about our, I would say, good friend. He started out good friend, but now we know he steals dogs.
Yeah.
Maybe like not so good. Now. I know. Acquaintance. He's been bumped down to acquaintance.
Used to be, but not anymore.
What did you think of part one, Amy? How are you finding Mothman so far? Is he everything you ever dreamed of, bar taking dogs?
He's not my ideal man, although he is over 6 foot, which,
Yeah, he is
tick.
over 6 foot.
He's also fuzzy, which isn't always a bad thing.
No,
He's
very
got
true.
a great butt, which I
Very true.
appreciate. But he doesn't like bright lights, and as you can see by the reflection of my ring light just here, I do. So that's going to be an issue. So overall, I'm going to say we're not compatible. I would probably swipe right or left, whichever one. Left.
Oh, Mothman. Oh,
Sorry, Mothman.
oh,
But me and Krampus, we've just got a great thing going on. That snake-like tongue keeps reeling me in, Can't help it.
Yeah, Mothman doesn't have a really long tongue, so.
No.
Oh, poor boy.
And even my tongue's not long enough for that booty. Oh, it went too far. I took it too far. Sorry, everyone.
There's no way your tongue is getting beyond the cheeks. Absolutely no way at all. West Virginia University Associate Professor of Wildlife Biology, Dr. Robert L. Smith, would laugh at the idea that a flying monster was scouting Point Pleasant. Rather, he would explain that the sightings were all the work of a very normal, very much more unspectacular sandhill crane, which is obviously a bird, which has vivid red skin around its eyes and stands nearly as tall as the typical man. That is a big bird. What?
There's always a fucking killjoy, isn't there? There's always someone that's like, oh, it's just a bird. Here's what it looks like. Just let us have this. All right? Robert L. What was his name? Robert L. Jackson? Or
Robert L. Smith.
I don't know. Sorry. I think I was going for a Samuel L. vibe. Apologies. Robert L. Smith. Just let us have this. Let us just believe in something for once. You.
Yeah.
Bastard. Sorry, I've taken a real stance against him. But,
poor Robert.
It's okay.
It was just...
Robert
was just
is
trying
catching
to
calm everyone down. And I'm just like, no, fuck you.
Literally just trying to calm everyone down. And Amy's like, there is no calm here, only chaos.
Only chaos. We thrive in the chaos.
Only chaos.
No, just give it a few weeks, Just let people believe in something paranormal and weird just for a little while. And then come in with your crane theories and shit all over everyone's parade. To be fair, I'm assuming people were very scared, so he's probably doing a good job. Sorry, Robert Smith, but also you're a dick.
I mean, two things can be right. Everyone probably was terrified, so it was probably a good thing that he was like, guys, you know what? It's probably just a bird. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, oh man, couldn't you even just let that just, go on for a little bit longer and then be like, it's a bird, guys. Chill.
Yeah. Maybe when they started getting like the torches and pitchforks, then as you're like, lighting yours, just kind of go, do you know what? Has anyone thought it might just be a bird? I'm just saying. Just putting that out there just before we all march out. Just saying it might be a bird.
Halfway along to the first sighting point, he's just like, you know what? This might be a bird. Lads, turn around. Put out
to the
torches. Pub. False alarm.
For God's sake, everyone. Robert. You ruined a perfectly good mob there, you dick. We're all just here for a good time to hang out with our mates.
Oh, dear. Oh, Robert. So, according to a different hypothesis, the Mothman was actually the brainchild of one single devoted practical joker who even went as far as to lurk in the abandoned World War II munitions plant where some of the sightings would take place. According to this notion, the residents of Point Pleasant started to get scared as the Mothman story made headlines around the country. Even after the prankster had given up, the locals were certain they were seeing the Mothman in the form of birds and other large animals. That's a hell of a practical joke.
That is commitment, he wasn't like, as well.
Right? He wasn't like, I'm going to start small and then work my way up. He was like, no, Mothman, I'm going big.
Yeah. Like, do you think he dressed up as Moth?
Maybe. He was a devoted practical joker, so it is possible.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. Like, you can just see this idea forming in my brain now of like, maybe we could just create a cryptid. I live in a small village and it's dark a lot of the time. Maybe I
No,
could
that
just
is true.
sneak
That's true.
around, dress up as something. I don't know what I
I
dress up
don't.
as. There's nothing, there's nothing in my wardrobe other than leather and fishnets. Spooky slut haunts village isn't your headline, is it? But I think of something.
You could be the slutty moth woman.
Slutty Mothman. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone go Google that. See what that brings up.
I'm actually quite tempted now when we finish this, Google slutty Mothman and see if. Oh man, I'm very intrigued at this point.
I think we've just come up with a new rule of the internet. There's one that's like, if it exists, there's porn of it. I also think if a costume exists of it, which we know a Mothman costume does exist, then a slutty version of that costume also exists.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that there is a slutty moth there somewhere. And in my head, it's just like a full-on moth, but then just legs with like thigh highs and fishnets. A bit like Patrick Star in SpongeBob, just a bit like that, but a moth on top. That's the slutty version of Mothman in my head. That's probably where it should have stayed, to be fair.
A slutty Patrick.
Slutty Patrick's my favourite Patrick.
I remember seeing that the first time I saw that. I know. Oh my god, I was in tears. I had to like pause the episode because I was just like, "This is fucking hilarious."
I remember seeing that for the first time and being like, "Oh my god, this is hilarious," and then have a secondary thought, which was, "Am I horny? No,
Turned on.
No. Cartoon starfish. No."
That's where you draw the line.
Wasn't.
Cartoon starfish. I'm good.
I didn't have to pause it like you did, you sicko.
I paused it because I got a bit too excited about that's what really happened.
Had to go and take a breather.
I had to calm myself down. I had to get a fan and fan myself.
You wanted to lift that rock and see what was underneath. Oh, this has taken a turn, hasn't it?
Oh dear. 2024. As much as things change, things stay the same at Horror House. Notably, the Mothman legend resembles a number of demon archetypes associated with sleep paralysis sufferers. This may indicate that the visions are simply just the projection of common human fears lifted from the depths of the unconscious and then superimposed on actual animal sightings when people start to panic. It does kind of sound like something you might see during a bout of sleep paralysis, I will admit.
Yeah, I've never suffered with, never suffered with sleep paralysis, but I guess it is sort of, nightmare fuel, so it makes sense that that would happen. I don't know, I don't think I've ever been that tired that I've hallucinated Mothmen, but if you are someone that does, then, apologies.
Can you imagine, like, your sleep paralysis demon is Mothman?
I mean, it's a claim to fame, isn't it? Like,
it is.
I'd be bragging, if anything.
I would.
Yeah.
My sleep paralysis demon is better than yours.
Yeah.
It's Mothman.
You just got a regular old demon. I've got Mothman. Me and him chill when I'm paralysed through fear. It's great.
So there are also the more creative, shall we say, otherworldly explanations, which are a jumble of intricate hypotheses that include pre-recognition, aliens, and UFOs. According to these ideas, the Mothman is either the source of impending doom or, more terrifyingly, its herald. And that stems from a tragedy that hit Point Pleasant shortly after the first Mothman encounter. The events go that on December the 15th, 1967, a little more than a year after the initial Mothman sighting, the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant was clogged with vehicles. This put considerable strain on the bridge, which was built during a time when cars were far, far lighter than they were in 1967. When designing the bridge, engineers hadn't been particularly creative nor cautious. Because there wasn't much redundancy in the bridge's design, there wasn't much in place to stop other elements failing if just one failed. And unfortunately, on that cold December day, that's exactly what would happen. Suddenly, one eye bar on the Ohio side of the bridge cracked close to the top. When the chain broke, the bridge's delicate equilibrium would be upset, causing the bridge to collapse, sending drivers and pedestrians into the freezing waters of the Ohio River below. 46 people would die as a result of being crushed by the wreckage or drowning. The bridge collapse was the second horrible and unusual event to place Point Pleasant on the map in less than a year, obviously after the Mothman sightings. Thus, it wouldn't take long for some people to make the connection between the Mothman and the Silver Bridge collapse.
Yeah, I guess if you're from quite a quiet town and those things happen in quite quick succession where nothing ever happens prior, you would draw some connections between the two. But as I do with many of these things, I'm focusing on completely the wrong thing. And what I'm focusing on is how cool it would be if you were known as the Herald Doom.
I mean,
I'd
can't...
like to aspire to that. Like, one day I want it to be how people refer to me. Just Amy, the Herald of Doom. I can't predict it. But I bring it about. To be fair, people already call me that, to be fair. It would make sense.
That is true. But it would be a pretty cool moniker to be known by, I will admit. Obviously, an awful event to happen.
Yeah, of course.
But like you say, it's a small town. It's the 1960s. You know, people are going to naturally just connect the two, regardless of, you know, anything else. So
yeah, there's no TikTok, so what else are you going to do?
Exactly. No Instagram reels are around in 1967. Point Pleasant's reputation as a birthplace of the Mothman myth has endured over the years. A film adaptation of Keel's novel, The Mothman Prophecies, in 2002, would spark a renewed fascination with the creature. In addition to providing Mothman history, the Mothman Museum, there is a museum, hosts an annual event that draws more and more people each year. Mothman appears on t-shirts, cookies from the neighborhood cafe, and Etsy stores. He's become mainstream. You get that bag, Mothman.
It draws people in just like a moth to a flame.
It does. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, right? I know, they should put that on posters. You're welcome. That would be cool, though, to go to. I'd quite like to go to the Mothman Museum.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's cool that he gets his own little, you know, festival thing. Like, just like the Krampus. They deserve that.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Folklore professor Kim Stryker of George Mason University believes that people become more Oh, God. That was a very ill-advised, but couldn't have been
fair,
more.
We're getting consistently more drunk towards the end of this episode, so I don't think anyone's going to mind.
I'm going to start that again. That was like, I couldn't have waited to burp when I finished that sentence. Obviously, that had to come out halfway through.
It's all right. I'm brewing.
Folklore professor Kim Stryker of George Mason University believes that people become interested in the paranormal when they need a diversion. She claims that the previous 20 years have brought with them never-seen-before difficulties in daily life, and that tales such as the one about the Mothman are particularly welcome at times of significant political and social upheaval. Dark tourism has also made Point Pleasant a popular location. According to many residents, the legend surrounding the Mothman extends beyond reports of purported sightings, incorporating references to extraterrestrial life forms, the Men in Black, and various conspiracy theories. In addition to having the opportunity to unravel the riddle surrounding I did that very well, that could have been a lot worse, surrounding the unusual creature, visitors can purchase unique Mothman crafts, mementos, and pastries from the downtown Point Pleasant stores, museums, and cafes. I wouldn't mind seeing like a a big old Mothman pastry. I reckon that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I do wonder what flavour they are.
That's a very good point. What flavour would a Mothman pastry be?
Here on Horror House, we have to ask.
These are the important questions.
Yeah. Who gives a shit if he's real? What flavour are his pastries?
I'm thinking he's probably covered in dark fur, so maybe like a black currant or like a black forest or something. I don't know.
Tasty.
So whether these sightings are real or not, spoiler alert, they're not, the Mothman can still be seen in Point Pleasant today in the form of a 12-foot tall chrome polished statue complete with massive steel wings, ruby red eyes, and a goddamn dump truck. He's a thick boy. I know we've talked about it a lot this episode, but I literally
Honestly.
cannot drive the point home enough. He's thick.
Yeah. I feel like every picture that's going to come up during the YouTube episode is just going to be Mothman's off.
So it's funny you say that, Amy, because in my notes, I made a point that if you're listening to the audio version of this episode, you should pause it and Google Mothman statue back and then thank us later. But if you're watching the YouTube version of this episode, there will be a picture of Mothman's booty coming on screen right about now. There you go. It's a big boy.
It's just majestic.
So juicy. Oh dear. Deary me.
If he was on Instagram these days, then bloody hell, he would be subscribing up. He would be
God.
OnlyFans.
Oh, absolutely.
And no one would give a shit that he was a giant moth.
He would have an OnlyFans. He would have a Fansly. He would have an Instagram subscription page. Like, he would have it all.
Damn.
Have it all.
And I'd be signed up to all of them.
Me too. I'm not even going to front on that. Outsiders speculate about the existence of the Mothman, but residents of Point Pleasant pour themselves wholeheartedly into the infamous cryptid, considering it an important part of the town's history. West Virginia's mountains and caverns are home to fascinating figures from paranormal American folklore and narrative. So after all, what better way to drive home the idea that children should never enter an abandoned power plant than a gigantic flying moth monster when they are sitting cross-legged on the ground? And as those same children go from moody teenagers to old storytellers themselves, legends such as the Mothman serve as a source of memory and identity. And at the end of it all, the legend of the Mothman brings together those in the local community and from afar, and it's given a small town a sense of place, purpose, and identity. So, does it really matter if the Mothman is real? You know, a genuine 6 to 7 foot tall creature with enormous wings and red eyes and a big bum, or something conjured up in the mind of a prankster, the result of sleep paralysis, or a rather unremarkable bird? The residents of Point Pleasant would probably say, no, it doesn't. And that is our episode on the Mothman. Amy, thoughts, feelings?
I feel like whenever you ask me that question, I do an ADHD brain thing where I start talking about something completely unrelated, but believe me, it is connected. I just have to explain the link. So, have you seen Miracle on 34th Street?
Yes, I believe a while ago. So I don't remember a lot of it, but I have seen it.
It's okay. I'm going to talk you through it anyway. So there's a bit at the end of that where people don't believe in Santa Claus. And they do this big campaign where everyone puts up posters and stuff in their windows saying, I believe, I believe, I believe. I feel like we should do one of those for Moth. Because I believe in Moth. I believe that he's real. And that's, that's my prerogative. If I want to believe in a giant moth, then you just let me. Some of you believe in Jesus, so basically. Oh God, cut that out. Christ. Christ, get it? Don't cut it out. Fuck it.
Oh God,
I'll stand by
Christ.
Oh God, Christ.
It's still gone on.
But yes, I believe that he is real. and probably not a bird. The bird one I find the least believable. Is that weird?
No.
That's like the one that I think, nah.
No, I wouldn't say that's weird, saying that's the least believable.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick a theory, makes the most sense, and the one that I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to put my money behind, it would probably be the sleep paralysis one, because lack of sleep does weird things to people.
Yeah.
And I think you probably would conjure that up in your imagination based on something you see. And it's the same reason people, you know, they go to seances or they go to ghost hunts and they see something out of the corner of their eye and they'll go, oh my God, did you see that? And everyone else in the room goes, oh, yeah, I saw it. And they didn't. Just, you know, they want to believe that they saw it, so they say that they did. And I think that sort of thing is similar in that you might see an animal, you might see, you know, something move in the darkness, which it will do. And because you're so tired and so sort of in heightened state anyway, you believe that you see something, particularly if you've already heard about Mothman. Why would your brain not immediately go, oh my God, it was Mothman? So I think that's the one that if I had to put money on it, that's probably the one I'd pick.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I would say sleep paralysis is probably the most realistic explanation out of all of those. But I think regardless of whether you believe it's real, whether you believe it's sleep paralysis, whether you believe it's a bird, whatever it may be, it's given a town a sense of purpose. And it's brought together people from, you know, Point Pleasant, from people, you know, outside of that town. I can imagine that a lot of people go to the Mothman museum and festival and stuff. So, yeah, in that sense, it's I don't think it necessarily matters which way you go. Because it's a good story, and you know that we love a good story. We do love a good tale, and it's brought together, you know, a lot of people. So Point Pleasant, I think, aren't going to concern themselves with it too much. I think they're going to be like, you know what? We don't care. It brings us money. It brings us people. We're good. We are good with Mothman.
We good. Yeah.
Also, for those watching on YouTube, I've had to change to my web camera. So if you've noticed an atrocious shift in video quality just now and you're like, what the hell is going on? That would be why. Amy, would you like to see us out for this week's episode?
Absolutely. If you've noticed a change in my camera quality, that's not the camera, it's just thing. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. I love Mothman. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm a believer in Mothman. And I wish he was from where I'm from, because then I'd have Mothman pastries too. If you would like to support us, you can. It's a brand new year. A whole different year to the one that we were in last week. So why don't you celebrate by doing something nice for us? And by that, I mean supporting us. Maybe financially if you're feeling a bit flush. I say that knowing full well that no one is. But you could buy us a coffee. There's a buy us a coffee link. You could also pick yourself up some lunch. Why not? Head over to the shop. Get yourself something with Horror House on it. It's good stuff. I've basically lived in the hoodie ever since. Dom's wearing his. Look at that. Right there. Perfect. Or if you are skint, which, believe us, we are fully, on board with, because we are too, then you can support us in other ways by following us on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter. Not that we do anything on Twitter. We should probably look into that for this year. And you can leave a comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, post questions in the Q&A, send a carrier pigeon to your nan letting her know that we're great. Whatever you want to do, just do it. It's your life. Just do what you want to do. We will be back next week with not a cryptid, but something still slightly different. Hopefully you'll enjoy. But for the time being, look after yourself. Have a very, very happy start to 2024. And as always, stay spooky.
Yes. Stay spooky, you Lovely, lovely people.
Can't stop thinking about Mothman's butt, and it's really upsetting, but also nice. I don't know. Very conflicted.
I mean, we've now got other people on the Mothman booty fan club train. Hopefully, it's not just going to be us two.
Maybe we should start the Mothman. Let's start the Mothman Appreciation Society.
Ooh.
Boom. Stick it on the merch.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Our next line of merch is just t-shirt and jumpers with Mothman's ass on it.
Perfect. No one's going to object.
Those sell like hotcakes. Hotcakes.
Hotcakes just like that ass.